Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Gunnar. I am a senior at SUNY Oneonta in New York, studying mass communication with concentration in media study. And today, me and my pal here are going to be bringing you the first episode of our web series, where we're trying to help you guys understand how to better consume media in your everyday life, as well as understand the power that it has in forming public opinion. Yeah?
Yeah. And I'm Alex. I'm an aspiring nerd fighter, and I'm also a student at SUNY Oneonta. This is really what I want to do with my life. There's not an abundance of things like this out here. There's not a lot of things where you can go and you can see exactly how the media works and how the news media works and how it affects you and how it affects social reality and how it and critical media literacy is just not on the internet. So this is what we want to do. We want to create a web series where we can sort of expound on these things and help us all become a little bit more knowledgeable and become better citizens.
Yeah. Sounds about right. And with that in mind, if we could better understand the media around us, we can better participate in society. The puppet masters are out there.
Welcome to the human race.
Welcome. Pleased to have you.
All right, so our first episode is just about spotting inaccuracies in reporting and a couple of tips and tricks to help you along the way. The media informs our worlds. It's time we take some power away from that, and we do some of our own informing as well. All right.
Nothing is value-free, and there's no such thing as objectivity.
Yes. There are any number of ways to identify inaccuracies in reporting, but there's a few simple facts that we can hold to make ourselves more aware. To start us off on our facts, fact number one is... Okay, to start off on our facts, fact number one is there is no such thing as objectivity, and nothing is value-free. All news stories have an angle. All journalists have a lived situation which directs them. Journalists select the fields they cover. They do this because of their interests and their sentimentalities.
All news outlets have a political ideology. The institutions do, so do the publishers, editors, and journalists working in them. Any news outlet that claims to be free of bias and claims to hint at true objectivity is, well, they're lying. Even if a story is mostly down the middle and free of bias in the way in which it's reported on, it's affected by the manner in which it was chose, say, over another story. That's a choice.
Then there's a choice of who is heard and what voices are included. News outlets that don't try to hide their political ideologies or cling to some mask tend to be the more trustworthy ones because they're not clinging to some non-existent ideal while they're trying to work in a rational medium.
What?
Oh, okay. So with all that in mind, we have an instruction for you. While watching, listening to, or reading news, always be aware that every story has an agenda.
Fact number two, the sources influence the story. As we said before, journalists select who they source and who they cite, as well as who they interview in all their news stories. This has an inestimable effect on any news coverage. Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting reported that for 40 consecutive months of nighttime programming, the most consistent guests were Henry Kissinger, Elliot Abrams, Jerry Falwell, and Alexander Haig. Progressive and public interest groups were widely ignored, which is a problem because that's the entire other side of the coin in the political sphere in this country.
I don't know my lines yet.
Oh yeah, sure, just take that.
If news stories are discussing war or government, and they're only interviewing or disproportionately interviewing government officials, then that story is skewed. The same thing is true for other types of stories. False balance is an issue in many stories. There are not always two sides to every story in terms of fact, the commodity that journalists are supposed to deal in. Yet some stories that are fact-based are covered as if there are facts on both sides of the story. There are endless amounts of opinions in stories, but journalists are meant to deal in facts and disclose opinions when they rely upon them. Instruction number two, while you are watching news, or reading it, or listening to it, pay attention to who is quoted or interviewed and how that might impact the story.
Also, pay attention to whose opinion isn't asked for and who's not included in the story, because sometimes that has a lot more to say than who actually is included.
Okay, fact number three, words and images change the story. Imagine a story about terrorism in the US with an image of the Twin Towers burning. This significantly changes the tone of the story. You're more likely to drown in a bathtub than to be killed in a terrorist attack. But the image of the Twin Towers conjures fear, anger, and danger, and changes how you perceive the story.
That's talking about images, but think about words. What constitutes a terrorist anyway, and who gets to define who is a terrorist? Someone who's painted as a terrorist in one light or context could just as easily be looked at as a freedom fighter or a liberator in another. My point is, words are very powerful symbols. And media outlets know this, and they choose them very carefully in order to help aid in molding people's opinions. So, with that in mind, our final instruction is, always realize that images, words, and symbols are being used to convey ideas to you, and try and visualize how the combination of those three things help paint the bigger picture that's being put forth by that media outlet.
Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is our video. I hope it was informative for you. And
yeah, that's pretty much it. We had fun. It was fun doing it. We just turned my apartment into a professional video studio for the first time. Did everything that would happen.
Yeah.
So we hope you guys tune in next time for our second video. Be sure to subscribe to our page. Follow, and we will hopefully be hearing from you guys soon. And you'll be hearing from us soon too. So thank you.